Hello and welcome to the Tarkus Zone. Thank you for joining me. We're going to be playing some Ars Notoria. And yesterday we had left off, we were talking about the automation in this game, on how the game is kind of unique to the fact that not only are you gathering resources on your own through your own character, the character that you play in the game, but the game is somewhat of a city builder experience. That early on there's a lot of things that you're going to need to do yourself, but there are things in the game that will allow you to push that kind of work off to the automation portion of the game. Now, the game is in early testing, and the game developers are doing a good job at trying to wrangle in some of the bugs that have been reported. Now, if I were to scale, many of you have watched my channel for a long time, and if I were to scale this experience, the bugs that I have experienced in this game, if I was to compare it to other games that I have play tested in the past, I would say that there are many games that I tested that were like pure train wrecks that just were not ready whoever coded those games, and a lot of times those train wreck testings never resulted in anything. The game made it to market, got bad reviews, and it went on to the wayside. Like Crucible was one of those. I worked for Amazon Studios there, or what they called Smile Studios, and Crucible was a train wreck from beginning to end. And what did that hit the market, and 3 months later it was dead in the water. You can't even download the game now. So if I were to say for comparison, this game has actually been pretty smooth. I mean, I would not say that I've had some bugs. I've had some annoying things that have happened, but as a person who has a lot of patience and has done testing for all sorts of video games, from this genre to top down, to even card games like Hearthstone, I even helped test that. I would say that this game is doing quite nice, and the fact that we're not finding the developers are patching it in a timely manner, or at least addressing the patches in a timely manner, and it seems like they have the foresight to know which bugs to tackle first versus other bugs. The great thing about play testers, and the great thing about human beings in general, is the fact that we all take in information in a different way, and we kind of take that information and our minds do what it will with it. And everybody's point of view is valid because this thing's wrecking me. Oh, it wrecked me. So everybody's point of view is valid, and they're going to come they're going to give us their own experience with the game. It's just that when you balance all of that into an entire game, you've got some people with more experience understanding the hierarchy of certain bugs versus other bugs that might be lower on the spectrum. Now, that's where a developer comes in and grabs all that communication from all the various people's objective opinions and what they see, and they have to balance what it is that they fix first and what makes sense to fix first. Because one of the bigger bugs might, if 9 people reported, I'm having inventory loss. It's like specific to an item. Oh, I pick up the sword, it goes away. Or I pick up this and it goes away. Well, all those are under the same general bug. You know what I mean? And the developer is like, okay, as soon as I fix this at this hierarchy of the process, then all these things that people have reported should resolve themselves down the pike. You know what I mean? So it all just comes down to priority. Now, I've seen developers go down rabbit holes of trying to fix bugs that were at the bottom end of the what needed to be fixed. They fixed them, and then they're still trying to resolve the bigger issue. And then when they resolve the bigger issue, they find out, oh my goodness, I could have just resolved the bigger issue, and all these other issues would have resolved themselves instead of us going in. And it just comes down to experience in developing a video game. It comes down to understanding your product and understanding what is important to fix timely and what is important just to kind of just wait and let it simmer. I do need these rocks, so we're gonna. Whoop. All right. Wow. There we go. And with this game, you know, it's I would. There's a few things that I'm excited to see is the next rollout of items that you can make and how they work for your game experience, like for the automation part of it. And I can't wait to get into the NPC, talking about the NPCs and how you influence them, and if you can get them to do your chores for you. That's going to be interesting to play around with. Now there are parts of this game that I have not tested, like the taming. I haven't gotten into that only because, as Tarkus does, I go on to the forums, or I go on Discord there, and I read people's submissions. And when you got multiple people submitting the same bug, Tarkus says, well, I can move on to test something else. I don't need to double dip in that effort because it's already been found. It's already a glitch, and Tarkus is not going to go do that. And they have come out to say that they're having some issues with. Oh, that's a goat. They're having some issues with the taming experience, especially with the horse, I guess. So that's going to get resolved, and then once they pull the trigger and say, okay, we fixed this, or we think we fixed this, then Tarkus will test it. Just like the other day when they said they fixed the inventory thing, and Tarkus tested it. And so that's what I like to do is test the things they have claimed they fixed, and then when they add newer items, then I test those. And I try to not kind of overlap with what, if somebody gets ahead of me and they're able to test something and they've already reported it as a bug, there's no reason for me to piggyback on that. I mean, because at that point, I'm just noise to them, to the developer, because they've already heard it from someone else. They don't need to hear it from me. I mean, when I was doing Riven World testing, I was just a few testers. So I always was, constantly making little videos to show what the product was doing. And with this product, this game, there's been so many overwhelming testers that I haven't needed to do that, because by the time I find the bug, there's been people that already reported it. It's like, okay, I can just move on. And that's why, as a tester, if you're testing video games, you want to take on that responsibility to go read what other people are reporting. So that might save you some headache and save you some time to test it, because when you're testing a game, and I know this might be controversy to say, but you're not playing the game. You're not getting into the experience to play a free game. You're supposed to be testing it. So it's not, I mean, it's great that when the product comes out to market, they're charging for it. It's great to be excited about getting into the nuts and bolts and playing the game. But I get excited about testing the game. And when I view a testing experience, I don't really view it as I'm playing the game, playing it the way it's supposed to be played. It's supposed to be, you just play a different way. When people just willy-nilly play in a world and they've paid for it, they expect it to work and they can just do whatever they want on their own pace. But as a tester, you kind of need to find objectives that you want to do in your head and make sure you cover those. Make sure that you're covering the things that you're hoping to cover so that you can report, malfunctions of the product timely. I guess the whole point of this video is to say that the people that have been testing it have been doing a good job. There has been some games I've tested where people have gone on Discord and just gone beyond the pale. You know what I mean? Just ripped into the game, and it's like, oh my goodness. I think you could go back a year, 2 years on my channel at least, and go to every video that I've ever made of a game, and I don't think I've ever torn a game apart until it went to market. Because what it is, I'm going to use Frozen Flame, that game, for example, I'm going to use it as the example, is we worked with them, we told them what they needed to do, they did fix things timely, but then they went off the rails. And it was like once it hit the market and people were paying for the game, at that point I went on my channel and said, okay, hold the phone, folks. This game has some serious issues, and they don't seem to be timely in responding to them. And what frustrated me the most about that game is the development team always taking vacations after dropping a patch. They would wait 3 to 4 weeks to drop a patch, and then the team would go on a week's vacation because they felt they were overworked. And it was like, okay, you just dropped a patch. All these people are now experiencing all these bugs from your new patch, and you're gone for a week. So that's a good example of Tarkus getting on YouTube and saying, look, okay, this is not a product I'd recommend. But, that happens very seldomly on my channel, because most products that I work with, most games that I've tested, the developers don't see their product as a cash grab. They see it as, a product that they want to be proud of, and they want a product so that, they can continue moving forward with it and be part of, because if you do well with one video game as a small developer, then the next game you put out, people will buy that. Then the next game, how do you think Blizzard Entertainment became a big power Activision? How do you think BioWare, how do you think they became big players in the game? Well, they made good video games, and it wasn't a cash grab thing. So right now, I think between the testers they got for this game and Tarkus is running around, as you can see here, in the game, I think they're doing very well. I think they're resolving things very well. I know some of these bigger issues, save issues that they've got going on, when I say timely fixes for that, it doesn't mean that that's going to happen like today. Sometimes it takes a few days to resolve it. Sometimes when you try to change how the system logically functions behind the curtain there, then it might screw up something else that is in the game. And it's just trying to figure out. And then, when you fix, like if someone reported, they get rendering issues when they come into a certain location. Well, that's how the system is, frame rate loss. That's not the most easiest thing to fix, you know what I mean? Especially if you're in combat around these areas that give you frame rate losses, not the most easiest thing to fix. It's either that you have to lower the amount of assets you got around that. If you're next to a building and that's a detailed building and you're losing frame rates around that building, then it's the building causing it, right? So then you've got to got to think, how do I make it so that this doesn't occur? Now, Frozen Flame was plagued with that. Every time I built any building, if I did any combat around it, the frame rates would drop by 20 frame rates. But the whole game was a building game where people build bases everywhere. So basically everywhere you went, you were getting frame rate losses. So, and the question is, how do you resolve that? Well, after 4 months of them not resolving it and then opening the game up for people to pay for it, it just seemed okay. That doesn't seem like the best choice to do, you know what I mean? You have I don't have a suitable tool for that. You've gotten some frame rate issue problems, and I'd get on my YouTube channel, and I actually did a video on, I lagged my entire server by building a structure so big, the entire server, the dedicated server, and they're like, well, you should get a better computer to run the dedicated server. And it's like, well, dude, I'm having it hosted by G-Portal. So you want me to contact G-Portal and tell them that their product's crap, even though every other video game that they host is running fine? Come on. Come on, really? All right, well, that's really what I want to talk about is I think the testing is going great. I think the people involved are doing a great job. And that's it for me for today, folks. And thank you for joining me.